so yeah, so I mean, I threw myself full time into it. I read all kinds of sightings, and I always tell people, you know, always practice, and I teach this a lot actually. Active listening and critical thinking. And even though you may not have had an experience, whatever, someone is telling a story or an experience that they've had, and even if maybe they're not a very good witness, there's a grain of truth or something that you can apply and learn from in that recounting of those stories. So I've spent just an inordinate amount of time, researching and talking to other
Yep.
people and hearing their experiences as well. So,
No,
and I've learned.
you've learned. I've learned throughout this entire process. 2018, I had an experience. Prior to that, a lot of paranormal and ghosts, shadow people. I might have seen a Bigfoot when I was 5 or 6. This, that, and the other. And really, I found when I started doing this channel about 4 years ago, so many people would reach out to you and tell their story. Some would come on the show. I fashioned 2 books out of it because a lot of people, they just don't want their name. They want to be in anonymity, right? But they want their story told because they don't feel quite right about it. So that's kind of what I do today myself. And I think for people to get it off their chest is great therapy, right? And so what you do is really amazing. And if you wanted to get into it a little bit too, what's kind of the most some of the accounts that you can recall that really stuck to you during this entire process? If you want to
Oh,
share that.
the very first time that here I was for about the first 9 months of this assignment. I was in Manhattan, right? I'm not going out and looking on Manhattan. Okay, I know better. I'm
Mm,
not dumb. So, um, I'm not going to hang out in Central Park, at 2 in the morning.
yeah.
Right.
I would have been dead by now. Um, but finally, I got part of the project I was on got moved out to the middle of Long Island. Well, I had some theories on, well, they could, how much land would they need? How much forest would they need? And there's a lot of wooded areas out there. So I started, you know, doing and hitting random areas and looking for evidence and looking for tree structures and so forth, and really didn't have a whole lot of success. And then I actually um, decided, and this was at the time I thought brilliant, but I was like, okay, the last sighting that was recorded on Long Island was in Rockaway Beach in 1899 of a hairy
Mm,
wild man. It was a newspaper report. So I was like, how in the earth am I going to find, if they're out here? And I'm pretty sure they're out here. So I looked up paranormal websites, ghost hunting websites that were groups that were on Long Island went out, because there was a story of a mother who lost a child in the 1800s, who goes out in the woods, moans and howls for her child, and so forth. And I'm like, okay, that's an area I need to research, right? Or rocks materialized from thin air and were thrown at us while we were in the woods, or red glowing eyes of a demon in the woods. So I started narrowing things down until I found an area that honestly wasn't very far from my hotel. So and thank you, Marriott, for all the wonderful apples that I gifted out of the woods. But the I was out, so I continued, and initially I gifted apples, and of course they were gone, and I didn't know. Obviously, it could have been a squirrel, could have been a raccoon, bird, whatever. But over time, I started getting gifts. I got a gift the one time
okay.
back, and it was a polished rock, and I was so excited. I took the rock, and it was, I put out an apple typically at night, right before I went to the hotel, and then in the morning before I went to work, I'd stop hike into the woods, check my gifting area. Oh, apple's gone, or the apple's still there, whatever. And but here there's this polished rock that was right up in the nook of this branch where the apple had been. So I take it to work and I'm all excited and I tell some of my other researchers that I know, and I'm like, hey, and they're like, oh, no, you should put it back. You should put it back. And I was like, okay, I don't understand that, but I'll put it back. So at lunchtime, I drive back out there and I'm about to put the rock back where it had been. And I see this stump off to the side. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just put it over here on this stump nearby. Right. So then after work, I run over to the hotel. I get an apple. I'm going to reload the gifting site. Right. And I come back out there and the rock is not on the stump anymore. It's up in the branch where the apple had been. And I'm like, it wants me to have it. Right. So after that point, it was feathers and little fossils and shells and other things. And they replaced the apple. And the best one was on a night where it was about 10 degrees out and there was tons of snow on the ground and the wind was blowing and it was cold, but I was still going to come out and gift apples. And I thought, they'll probably need 2 apples tonight. Right. So I parked the rental, right? It's not the same car every week. Right. So I parked the rental. I've got the 2 apples in my hand and I start hiking in and I'm right at the edge of the woods and not even probably 50 feet from me, this branch, I'll say 2.5 inches in diameter.
Oh, snap!
Broken, right? And it's like, it's like 9 p.m. It's pitch black dark in the wintertime, right? And I stopped dead in my tracks and I'm holding the apples and I was like, what do I do? And I was like, you know what? I said, these are for you. I just spoke in English. I held them up and then I rolled them down the trail into the woods. And then I got back in the car and I went back over to the hotel. So, and from that area over to the hotel, there was actually a strip of some woods in between some of these corporate centers. And in the morning, I always gave my coworkers a ride into work. And we got out to my rental car and sitting on top of my car is a polished rock sitting right on top of the side of the thing. So overnight, it actually came over, left the gift on top of my car, and
that's cool.
Yeah, and that was one of my all-time favorite experiences especially on Long Island. But
yeah, wow. And it's kind of cool how it knew it was your car.
Yeah,